our government's lost all interest in the concept of our civil liberties and consent overall. Many of us in this country have never had the privilege of a sense of privacy to begin with. From the war on drugs to ICE raiding people's homes on little more than a whim, or detaining citizens on trumped-up terrorism charges. Today we're here celebrating whistleblowers for trusting U.S. citizens and others enough to take moral and informed stances on this country's well-being.
This cop is trying to keep people from using tripods. He's harassing the international media.
Largely a corporate greed.
What's happening with, or what it's going to happen with Edward Snowden, and what's happened with Bradley Manning and Jeremy Hammond and folks like that, these are political prosecutions. And this country has a long history of persecuting people for their political beliefs, their political actions, and their political affiliations. What Edward Snowden has done, what Jeremy Hammond did, if it's a crime, it's a political crime. You know, their intention was to shed light on these abuses that the U.S. government is involved in, just like folks in the past have fought to fight against the abuses of the United States government.
Gentlemen, my name is Lieutenant Michael Van with the United States Capitol Police.
How dare you! And so if anybody gets arrested, you can consider yourself a political prisoner also. To the extent that we're out here, you know, this is what the United States government does when people try to shed light on what they're doing, people try to fight against what they're doing. They arrest you, they imprison you, they persecute you, they assassinate your character, they may even assassinate your person, as we've seen with Medgar Evers and Martin Luther King and others.
Demonstrating without a permit. Do not leave, you'll be subject to arrest. This is your second warning.
We are entitled to move to the plaza right there.
The First Amendment is not welcome on the corner. We're going to move to the plaza, which if nothing else will force the pigs to start over with their warnings. These pigs are now claiming their second warning applies to the plaza as well. Capitol Police, maybe you should remember the time we came in here with 800 fighters with shields up front and pushed you guys into the U.S. Capitol on January 27th, 2007. I don't think you enjoyed that day very much.
We are very pleased to welcome State Representative Lomberg. Thank you.
Thank you, and I've never actually stood on something labeled so much. I'm really glad to be here. So I'm going to start with an apology to the Capitol Police and everybody else here, because I haven't been up here very much with inconvenience. I've been so busy fighting 1984 in Texas. About 13 and a half years ago, I was in front of the Supreme Court with my fellow members of the Union Movement on a certain fateful Monday in December 2000, where we learned the Supreme Court was going to decide that the next president was our governor. And so first I apologize for the 8 years of George Bush as president. He was not nearly as bad a governor as he was president, because he didn't have foreign policy, and he wasn't able to do what we have seen going on. So I just want to put this in context. 13 and a half years ago, you were allowed to demonstrate in front of the Supreme Court building. 13 and a half years later, I have learned that they don't allow you to do that anymore. And so at the 5th anniversary of the Iraq War, I realized I had to be back. But they arrested you. Here, there, and everywhere. Wherever I went, they were ticketing people for demonstrating against the war.
You don't pay those.
So 13 and a half years into the new 1984, what we were able to do in Texas, of all places, because we had a very wealthy libertarian helping us, we have passed state legislation constraining the use of drones and the invasion that they represent of our privacy.
As you will talk to your friends and colleagues or listen to the news in the next few weeks, you'll hear things that might make you want to minimize this situation. Well, they're only going to use it for X, Y, Z. Well, it's just limited to C and B. Please remember to, as I encourage you to reach back into history, project forward. If we leave these conditions unchecked, what happens in 100 years, y'all? 20 years, 40 years, if we don't do our jobs now. If those folks like Lon, who took an oath to protect and defend our Constitution, don't step up and do it, what happens to that Constitution in 20, 40, 60, 100 years? That's why now we must act.